Hello and good day. So, here I'm doing a vlog after a really long time, and I felt that it was right to do a vlog instead of a blog because I wanted to use my voice. And so basically, this is a process vlog. So, the date today is December 18, 2020, and what I've been applying is using this yes voice that the portal had talked to me about 2 years ago. And what I'm finding is that is this point of me kind of like rising within myself and using the power of my word, as Bernard would say, how we have the power of the word, the living word, to create ourselves. And that just means that we have the power of using words, of speaking, and through that it's like manifesting. If we take that power and really own it, that gives us the power over our minds, over ourselves, and having the power to take responsibility and the power to create. That is basically what the whole destiny process is about, is getting that power which has to be used for responsibility, has to be used to getting us all to that point where we all can stand as equals and all can stand as one. So that is what we're doing. And so what I am been working with now today is using that word, that yes, and that point here within me of basically within my most deepest fears and insecurities, with the thoughts that seem like they can never end, with the points which seem unmovable, that I really do like rise up with this self, with this voice here inside of me, and it's like, no, no way. And yes, I am standing. And yes, I do stand for everyone, for what's best for all. And it is that point, that voice, that thing within me that I've been, since I started process in 2009, how over the years, if you've seen my blogs and my vlogs, how I've been developing that voice and that word of when I'm writing through, typing through words, or speaking, how there's been moments of that, especially my blogs more, and especially my writings. It's like that voice that wants to come out, that voice that wants to speak. And I know what that sound is basically when I'm writing, and I'm, doing that as if, I'm doing it. But when I look at my vlogs, a lot of them is more very passive, very quiet. And so it's been that progression that started with writing, because I knew and we all have access to that point within us because we are all of life. We are all of life, so we have access to that oneness and equality. It's part of every single thing because we exist. We're part of this existence, so it is in there. That's why there's potential for everyone. To exist is to be part of this existence. And like Bernard would say, and the portal would say, that everything is known. That everything is known. There's no secrets. There's nothing really hidden. It's all really known. Because we are all one and equal. If you stand as that oneness and quality, you have access to that information. You can see. So this is what I'm practicing and applying, is using that voice, not per se like speaking like this to people. It's not really the practice. The practice is more, to really describe what I'm doing. Having a specific thought that I know I've tried working with, but I haven't really been able to stop it. And then being like yes or no, or being that point within me where it's like no more kind of thing. It's like within every single fiber of my being and myself, I say stop. That I stand for what's best for all. And that nothing's going to stop me. So it's really accessing that point. And it's really like looking the fear that I'm feeling right in the eye, and then me making the decision of standing as what I'm saying or what I'm intending or who I am going to be, who I am. Because in my decision of who I'm going to be, I am actually deciding who I am. And so that's like in one moment where that happens, right? And then I live my, living my moments to moments, and then something else pops up, and it's still the same point of me needing to stand, because it is basically something that has to be walked in real time for every single point. It is a test. It is me becoming this. It has to be something I live in my moments, in my days. It is a decision in the moment. So every single moment, that is where I have to be here in life. This process, you have to be aware of every single moment and live in every single moment and live the correction every single moment. And it's not a sense of like urgency or tightness or stress or frustration in every single moment, trying to like hold on. It's not like that. It's when when there is the mind moving, I need to respond. When the mind is moving, I need to respond and stand as my self-responsibility of being the director of my life and directing the moment and taking responsibility for myself, the moment, and everything and all. How I am responsible for this existence. So then I live that moment. I stand in that moment. And yeah, there goes that moment. And it's not something that is like always immediately successful. Like, first, let's say there's a fear or thought, and then, like, for example, I try standing, but then not yet. I'm like, not really standing. Okay, I didn't really stand yet, so I have to actually remember the point, what I'm doing, what I'm standing for, what I'm standing as, and live that through. And then you see, okay, yes, now I got it, or maybe I didn't get it yet. Then I, look again. I do see the point how I very much have, it's like to be more, it's kind of like all of my habits and all of my doubts, all my insecurities, like it's very specific and very varying and varies. And so it's like, am I aware of, okay, is this the mind or is this me, kind of thing. And so there is those points where it's kind of like, okay, I have to be aware of this, what this is, the situation, this moment, what it is I'm actually dealing with, and then be able to look it right in the eye and then stand, kind of thing. I would say that what I've been going through the last 2 years has been very much this point of revenge of the ego, like Bernard wrote about, or did a video about. But, well, it is what it is. And the only thing that really matters is that I live this point, I share it openly. I share it because it can help others walk through a similar point more easily, more quickly. And if we all do that, if we all walk our processes and share and live that, then we are quantifying, we are speeding up everyone else's processes. And that is the beauty of this process. And that is why we need to walk as a group and why we need to always share and always learn from each other. Because that is what oneness and quality is. It's saying that we are each other. And that we need to walk together and walk through each other as well. Through, in the sense of being aware of the fact that we have an effect and we can help, we can be support, we do have an impact, we do matter, we do make a difference. And something else about this thing, about this voice, it's not about being loud. I even tried practicing and being quiet and saying yes, no, yes, no, I will not stop until it's done. And And it's not all powerful, because there was this moment where I was looking at, my career online, looking at things. And I was going through all these tabs, all this information, and kind of was looking for some kind of good feeling, right? Or assurance, feeling of security. And I was looking for it, but then it's like building up the stress and not finding it, so at the end of that, like having all this information, right? These videos, these words, these things, that doing that is very dishonest, and trying to use my voice to stop that, in a sense of like, okay, I'm creating all these experiences, and now I'm gonna somehow just stop it through my voice. That's dishonest, because I'm participating in that, physically participating in that. So I have to close the tabs, stop what I'm doing. It's like if you ever get yourself in a frenzy, like you're, I don't know, looking at all these things or thinking about specific things, and you're doing that action of putting yourself in that storm, the only way to stop is to actually physically stop what you're doing first. Take responsibility for that. And then you can, see what's there and then work. So it's what I'm saying here or sharing here. This isn't something that's designed for control over others or control over yourself. It is simply you taking responsibility for yourself and what is your responsibility of yourself in the moment. Which, if you look at it, is just simply an extension of that principle of taking responsibility for yourself in this moment. That how you use your voice, how that point of view that's rising. That's just one example of how to do that. That is just one example. One tool, one branch, one thing, one example of taking responsibility for yourself. But it is not the ultimate truth, it is not ultimate power. You simply removing yourself from a situation, same thing. Simply stop what you're physically doing. If that's an example of that, it's the same thing. Or that's an example of that principle. Take responsibility for yourself. So it's still on the level of physical living, of principles. At the same time, we look at ourselves, we're existing in moments where we are alone, where we are sitting here doing something, and then having specific thought patterns, having specific things, and it's our responsibility over who we are, over what we're doing, what we're accepting, allowing, whether in ourselves or even in this world or in our immediate environment. It is our responsibility. So we do have to take responsibility. I think that's a little bit more deeper into the principles and how things manifest, through ourselves, through words, through actions. But it's important to keep in mind that this isn't some like thing of like, oh, I'm gonna practice my voice or practice speaking this way or doing something like that. It's not about that yet, doing that playfully playfully playing around with your voice or doing things like that. It's fine to get a feel for it. It's fine to play. It's fine to do those things as well. With the intent of doing it within a sense of controlling yourself, or controlling how you're being perceived by others, or even controlling your mind. It's not even about controlling your mind, it's about taking responsibility for yourself and stopping, taking ownership of yourself and who you are and of this world. That goes beyond control. Control already implies a point of, I'm going to stay the same and simply control this so that I can continue being the same, kind of thing. That's what it's implied by control. A point of deception, a point of remaining hidden. And of course, I've written about stopping the mind, taking back control, and it's also fine to try to understand the mind, to try to understand yourself, to try to use words. So it's fine to use words like control, because your intent is to get there, to become better. So it's also not about trying to control what words you use, like the word control, which is another level then. It's about trying your best. And that's where self-honesty comes in. If you're sincere, if you're really trying, if you're really going for it, that's good, right? Something else that I've been working with as well is the point of judging others. Because like how Bernard said, how, just throughout Destiny material says as well, how when we're judging others, we are actually keeping them from learning, from changing, from discovering their potential, from realizing, because we're holding them in judgment. So there is a great need for patience and really giving a person all the time they need, all the support you can give, which includes not reacting towards them, not having judgments towards them, which means take responsibility for your reactions, your judgments, your anger. That is how you can support another, by taking responsibility for yourself and also for another. Because there's also the extreme, which I've done, where you're only taking responsibility for yourself, meaning you're only thinking that, okay, all I have to do is take responsibility for my emotions, my anger, my experiences, and all they have to do is take responsibility for their emotions, their anger, their experiences. That's all. See, that's a trap as well. It's a point where I got stuck as well. Because you can only take that so far, and then you go to the point where, okay, I'm only responsible for myself, and I'm not responsible for them. They're responsible for themselves. And if you can hear my voice, you may think that, oh, I could use another voice, but really that's the intent of trying to basically not take responsibility for another. Not trying to take responsibility for this world, for this universe, for all the beings, all that exists. And for me, I can remember what that is really clearly still. I can feel what that feels like. where it feels like I want to say, no, I'm not responsible for this world. I'm responsible for myself and how that affects the world. And that is, you could say, a subtle point. You can say that you can rationally argue how that is okay and that is fine. I mean, you can rationally argue anything, really. But is that the truth? Is that really what's best for all? And is that really the true extent of your power and so your responsibility? Like Bernard said so many times, like what it says in Destiny material so many times, we are responsible for this world, and we are all equal creators. We are all equally creating this world in its entirety. Everything you see outside of there is because of you, and you'll see how that is true. And you have to take responsibility for yourself in this world. And so when it comes to a moment where you're now here with another person face to face and they do something, which you could say maybe as an example, they scream or they yell for apparently no reason or apparently randomly. And you're in that situation, let's say you're someone thinking that I'm only responsible for myself and that everyone has to do is take responsibility for themselves. So thinking that in that moment where someone else is screaming, yelling that how they're responsible for that and that you're not responsible for it. And you're looking rationally and you're saying no reason why you could possibly be responsible for that. You didn't do anything for at all. It just happened. And you're looking at that moment, that's what you're concluding and that's what you're thinking. And within that moment, what you are experiencing is blame. Whether rationally, right, you're thinking that cannot be, right? How can I be blaming them? But that is blame. That is the signature of blame. That is a point where you are avoiding responsibility for yourself and for another, for this world. Thinking that way. It's like, it's literally, it is a thought. If you look at it, it's a thought and it is from the mind. But because, let's say for me, this is my example of myself, I'm living that so rationally that I see that thought as myself. That's me, right? Because logical is rational, it's right, it seems right, correct. Seems flawlessly scientifically logical, because when you observe the environment, there's no cause and effect, you're not causing it. Yet, the truth is that you're responsible, that I'm responsible. If you're in that moment with someone else, for that person screaming, for that person yelling. In the sense of, like, really look at this, what you can do, whether before, after, next time. It's like, what can you do? See, there you go. When you ask that question, you can see that you can respond, that you do have responsibility. What can you do? How can you support? What haven't you learned yet? Don't you know? What can be the case? right? It's like, you see, in that you could say, it's like, if you want, you can describe it as a next step of responsibility, because, you know, everyone's different though. For some people, they're going to start out understanding that right away. When they start process, they already understood that. When they hear, okay, we're responsible for this whole world, they got it. They know it. They understand that already. It's very clear. For other people, it's not. So it's everyone is different. Everyone's from a different starting point. So, in my case, starting with myself and my worlds, and trying to just take responsibility for me, right? And how I define me and how I see me and how that expands and grows, over time. So it's okay, right? It's natural. In a way, you can say it's a natural progression, but even then, that's still defining it. That's still limiting it. It's particular for each person. But the end goal, what we're really doing, is the same for all. We're taking responsibility for this world. We're taking responsibility for all, which means for myself and how I can respond. Responsibility, the ability to respond. So take responsibility, which, me sharing this, talking about this, you can do it too, right? You can do it. Why not? To take responsibility for this world and for this person screaming, and how you can be what you can do. And it already starts with letting go of that judgment and letting go of, judgment of, when I said before, how, oh, I'm responsible for myself and they're responsible for themselves. And that's how the world works, right? We're only responsible for ourselves alone. And really say, no, I'm responsible. How can I help? What can I do? Or something along those lines. And that for me was a wake-up call. That was, for me, was, okay, realizing, okay, now I really see, okay, that there's more to this than what I thought there was. Well, that's how I put it, right? But really, it's not that there's more, it's just, this is how it is. That's how it's always been, that's how it's always going to need to be, or that's how it's always been. That's what it means to take responsibility of yourself and of this world. That really is the one clear definition. It only seems like it's more because of how a person like myself can define it as less, or as more restricted, I guess. Or it's not even that really, but that's one way to put it. Because when you're working with a person or working with the world, it's still, who you are, right? It's still points like judgment, there's still points of reaction, of anger, of irritation, of blaming, or of, various forms of judgment, like characterizing them or thinking about them, or think how they should be, what they should be doing, why aren't they getting it, why are they like that, what are they doing. All those are points of judgments. And I did not see that really like that. Because, like I said before, and how I started this tangent, how I was on that point of, for the Destiny material, saying how if we hold people in judgment, we are keeping them from growing, from learning, from expanding. So that is how through us, we are either, supporting others or not. That is how we are going to, through the avenue, through that living the correction, get to a world that's best for all, where all stand as equals. Where truly, every time you meet a person or every time you see a person, or not even that, just like as you're living your life in your world, you are here with this intent, with this, not intent, but this commitment to taking responsibility for this world so that all may stand as equal and as one. So every single point. And you live that. And so obviously people are part of that. Which means obviously you take responsibility for yourself and your reactions, your emotions with all people, with all moments, with all situations, because all are part of your responsibility. Makes sense to me, right? Now it does. Now it makes sense. I think that's it, I guess. So thank you, and have a good day or night or morning.